What's up, Midnight Strikers? Welcome back to your weekly Versus, a show where we take two or more different things and pit them against each other to see which one my audience likes better. So, basically, as always, I'm going to present a little background history, give my opinion on it, and let you guys voice your comments, concerns, or questions about the topic in the comments section below, so as to generate a little bit of discussion, because comments are always good and meeting new people is amazing. So, in this episode, we are going to talk about the thrash metal band Megadeth, the legendary thrash metal band of epic proportions, one of four legendary thrash metal bands in the big four of thrash. So they're a big name band, Megadeth, and specifically we're going to be talking about two of their most critically popular and acclaimed guitarists, arguably, of course, Marty Friedman and Broderick. Chris, of course, being the current lead guitarist of Megadeth when they released their album Super Collider. Of course, that wasn't his first one. He debuted on Endgame, which, in my opinion, is their second best release of all time. But you know what? That's probably arguable. A lot of people do like Peace Sells and, what's the other one? Rust in Peace. Fuck, how did I forget that? Maybe third, actually, now that I think about it. Peace Sells is a little bit better. But I digress. It was his debut. It's one of their 3 or 4 legendary albums, and Rust in Peace was Marty Friedman's debut in 1990, which is critically acclaimed as being their greatest album of all time, if not the greatest in the genre of thrash metal. So, basically, both of these guitarists have some huge names to them already, just joining in Megadeth, but it all started back in 1988 when So Far So Good So What was released. It was basically one of those so-so albums. It's the album in between Peace Sells and Rust in Peace. So when the guitarist Jeff Young wasn't working out for him, they basically decided to go the route of firing their guitarist and firing their drummer. So they fired him because I think he was showing up to work high or drunk all the time, and there were fights that ensued with David Ellefson and Dave Mustaine, so he got fired, of course, Jeff Young as well as the drummer, and they brought in 2 new hired guns, Nick Menza on drums and Marty Friedman on guitar. This, of course, forming the longest stable lineup, with the exception of the current lineup, in history for Megadeth. And this is known as the classic Rust in Peace lineup. The lineup that, of course, everyone, including fans, and I'm not really sure about myself included or not, but this is the lineup that everyone wants to see return. In my opinion, maybe, Marty Friedman on guitar. I don't know about Nick Menza. I don't really know much about him, so I can't really say. But man, can Marty shred. I mean, just listen to Holy Wars, listen to Rust in Peace, listen to any of those songs, Tornado of Souls, Take No Prisoners. He is a freaking beast on guitars. In terms of technicality, he can play for everything from Peace Sells or Killing Is My Business all the way into, if he was still in the band, he could probably even play Head Crusher, Kick the Chair, all those thrashers. He's amazing. Marty Friedman, one of my favorite guitarists of all time, and I'm not just saying that, he is a beast on guitar. He just released his newest solo album entitled Inferno. I've listened to the title track. I probably will listen to it after I record this, but I digress. He is a great guitarist. Broderick, on the other hand, he was a little bit underutilized. It seems to be a pattern with both of these characters because Broderick had his debut with Endgame, which, much like Rust in Peace, was an all-out thrasher, but they were just coming off a bunch of all-out thrashers, or 2 to be exact, with The System Has Failed and United Abomination. So already they had a huge name to look up to or live up to with the release of United Abominations before it. So Endgame came up and it was a critical hit. So probably the best album since Rust in Peace, at least that's what everyone was saying, since it was the time of comeback albums in between 2008 and 2011, I believe, with Worship Music from Anthrax for those bands. This definitely followed suit, and the guitars were really good, especially on, the Endgame, the title track, and Head Crusher. I love that intro. I absolutely love it. So it was a little bit different, though, because it had a more modernized, compressed sound to it. I do appreciate it for what it is, but I do enjoy the production on Rust in Peace a little bit better. I don't know. It's just kind of that old school thrash production. I know we're never really going to see it again with Megadeth, but I do like it better on Rust in Peace than I do on Endgame. But that being said, Endgame is a killer album, and Broderick is a good guitarist in his own right. but I'm going to have to go with Marty Friedman on this one. I mean, both of the guitarists have a lot in common, especially with their technique, especially with the way that they play, but I do think that maybe Chris Broderick is definitely a better fit for the band at this time. Maybe not, 10 years ago, but at this time, there seems to be a lot of cohesion with the current lineup. Dare I say, I don't really like the fact that after David Ellefson came back, they reverted to The World Needs a Hero, but I have got to say, there's a lot of chemistry with this current lineup, so I don't know if firing Chris Broderick and bringing back Marty Friedman for a classic lineup would be such a good idea. So that being said, Marty Friedman is doing quite phenomenal on his own, I hear, so far, but both of these guitarists have a lot in common. They had their debut with an all-out thrasher and then went simplistic / hard rock, if you really want to go that far, with Countdown to Extinction and 13, even though I don't really consider that a traditional Megadeth album. So basically, when it all comes down to it, they're very similar, but when I have to, choose one, I probably pick Marty Friedman. But that being said, as I said before, Chris Broderick is definitely the better fit at this time for Megadeth. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I would prefer Marty Friedman in Megadeth. So what do you guys think? Comment down in the comment section below, as I said before, to generate a little bit of discussion on the matter, on the topic at hand, on the subject. And stay tuned for next week's Versus. As soon as I figure out what it is, I will probably post a title card. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is Midnight Strike 3625. As always, keep calm and rock on.